Have you ever said something in the heat of a moment and then spent hours wishing you could pull the words back into your mouth? And have you ever promised yourself that next time you would stay calm, only to watch the same emotional wave sweep you away again? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about managing emotions in a way that actually works in real life, not just in quiet moments when nothing is happening. 2 ideas will carry the whole journey. First, emotions are not enemies to defeat. They are signals to understand. When you fight them, they get louder. When you listen wisely, they guide you. Second, your destiny is shaped less by what you feel and more by what you do with what you feel. The space between a trigger and a reaction is where wisdom, compassion, and freedom live. Let me tell you a story, because you can remember a story when advice disappears. His name is Ethan. He is not a bad person. He is the kind of person who tries to do the right thing. He cares about his family. He works hard. He wants to be respected. He wants to be a good friend. But there is one part of his life that keeps humiliating him. His emotions feel like they have a hidden remote control, and someone else is holding it. It shows up in small ways first. Someone cuts him off in traffic and his chest goes hot like a stove. A co-worker makes a joke that lands wrong and suddenly he cannot think clearly. A text message arrives late and his mind fills in the worst story. He knows these reactions are too big, too fast. He knows it while it is happening. But knowing does not stop it. The worst part is what comes after. The emotional storm passes and he is left cleaning up the debris. Apologies. Shame. That thin, sick feeling that says you did it again. One night he sits alone in his kitchen after an argument. The house is quiet but his mind is not. He replays the fight frame by frame, like a judge looking for evidence that he was right. Then like a prosecutor looking for evidence that he is a failure. He swings between anger and self-hatred until he feels exhausted. He whispers out loud, "I do not want to live like this." That sentence is not dramatic. It is honest. It is the beginning of change. A few days later, Ethan meets an older neighbor named Mr. Harris at the elevator. Mr. Harris is calm in a way that does not feel fake. Not cheerful, not detached, just steady. Ethan does not know why, but he blurts out, "How do you stay so calm all the time?" Mr. Harris smiles and says, "I am not calm all the time. I just learned what to do when I am not." Ethan asks him to explain. Mr. Harris invites him to walk outside. They sit on a bench where the street noise is present but not overwhelming. Mr. Harris speaks slowly, like he is choosing words that can survive in a real mind. Most people think managing emotions means not having them. That is impossible. Emotions are part of being alive. Managing emotions means learning the difference between an emotion and an action. You cannot always choose the emotion. You can learn to choose the action. Ethan thinks he understands, but his life has proven otherwise. So Mr. Harris gives him a simple experiment. The next time you feel a strong emotion, do not start by solving the situation. Start by naming what you feel in your body. Not the story. The body. Heat. Pressure. Trembling. Then take one slow breath and ask one question. What is this emotion trying to protect? Ethan looks skeptical. Protect. Anger protects. Fear protects. It sounds too gentle, too forgiving. But Mr. Harris continues. Every emotion has an intention, even if the method is messy. Anger often tries to protect dignity. Fear tries to protect safety. Sadness protects what you love. Even jealousy protects the part of you that fears being left behind. The emotion is not the enemy. The unconscious reaction is the enemy. Ethan goes home with that idea like a stone in his pocket. He does not know what to do with it yet, but he can feel it. A week later, the test arrives. At work, Ethan presents an idea in a meeting. He has prepared carefully. He is proud of it. Halfway through, a colleague interrupts and says, "I do not think this makes sense. You are missing the bigger picture." The room goes quiet. Ethan feels it instantly. Heat up the neck, a tightening in the throat. The urge to attack, the urge to prove, the urge to humiliate back. His mind starts firing bullets. Who are you to talk? You always criticize. You want to look smart. You are disrespecting me. This is the familiar moment where the remote control usually wins. But something different happens this time. Ethan remembers the bench, the calm voice, the experiment. Not perfectly, not smoothly, but enough. He does not speak right away. One breath, he notices the body. Heat, tightness, pressure. He names the emotions silently. Anger, embarrassment. Then he asks, what is this trying to protect? The answer comes fast. It is trying to protect my image, my status, my fear of looking incompetent. And in that tiny recognition, the anger changes shape. It is still there, but it is not a monster. It is a guard dog barking because it thinks there is danger. Ethan realizes the danger is not physical. It is ego danger. The fear of being seen is not enough. He takes another breath. He says, I hear you. Can you point out what part feels unclear so I can improve it? The colleague is surprised. The room relaxes. The conversation becomes practical. Ethan does not win the argument, but he wins something more important. He gains a moment of freedom from the old chain. After the meeting, Ethan sits at his desk and feels shaky. He realizes how close he was to exploding. He also realizes how powerful one breath can be when it is paired with awareness. That is the first lesson of emotional management. Awareness creates space. Space creates choice. Choice creates destiny. But Ethan is not cured. The next test is harder, because it happens in the place where our deepest conditioning lies. At home, that weekend, his younger sister calls him. She is upset. She tells him he never listens, that he always tries to fix things, that he is selfish. Ethan feels attacked. Old family patterns wake up like sleeping animals. He wants to defend himself. He wants to list all the times he helped. He wants to strike where it hurts. His mouth opens. Then he stops. One breath. He notices the body. Tight chest. Jaw clenched. He names it. Anger. Hurt. He asks, what is it trying to protect? It is trying to protect my sense of being a good brother. It is trying to protect me from shame. Now he sees the deeper truth. He is not only angry at her words. He is afraid her words might be true. And fear plus shame is gasoline for anger. Ethan does something he has never done before. He says, I feel defensive right now because I do not want to be seen as selfish. But I want to understand. Tell me what you needed from me. His sister pauses. Her voice softens. She says, I needed you to ask how I was doing, not to tell me what to do. Ethan feels something break open. Not weakness. Relief. He has spent years trying to control emotions like an external problem. But the emotions were pointing to a deeper need. Connection. Being seen. Being safe. Being respected. This is the second lesson. Emotions are messengers. If you shoot the messenger, you lose the message. Now let us go deeper. Because managing emotions is not just about one breath in the moment. It is also about training the mind and heart over time, so the storms become less frequent and less destructive. Mr. Harris tells Ethan another idea. The emotion is like a wave. If you panic and fight it, you exhaust yourself. If you ride it with skill, it passes. Most emotional waves peak and fade faster than you think, but only if you stop feeding them with stories. Stories are the hidden fuel. The story says, this always happens. They always disrespect me. I will never be loved. I am doomed. I must prove myself. I must punish them. The story turns a wave into a flood. So Ethan starts practicing something simple every morning. He sits for 5 minutes, eyes open or closed, and watches his thoughts like clouds. He is not trying to be special. He is practicing the ability to notice without immediately reacting. At first his mind is loud. It runs like a noisy machine. He thinks, I cannot do this. But then he remembers the point is not silence. The point is awareness. He begins to see patterns. The same worries, the same judgments, the same rehearsals of imaginary conversations. He begins to see how often his mind creates tension before anything even happens. This is where the Buddhist lens becomes useful. Not as religion, but as psychology of cause and effect. If you want inner peace, you have to understand how suffering is manufactured. Ethan notices a cycle. First there is a trigger, a message, a tone, a memory. Then there is a sensation, heat, tightness, pressure. Then there is a story. They are against me. I am not enough. Then there is an impulse, attack, withdraw, punish. Then there is an action. Words said, doors slammed, silence used as a weapon, scrolling used as anesthesia. Then there is consequence, guilt, loneliness, more tension, more triggers. This is karma in the most practical sense. Actions create outcomes. Mental actions count too. Every time you run the cycle, you strengthen it. Every time you interrupt the cycle, you weaken it. Destiny is repetition. So Ethan chooses a new repetition. He learns 3 steps that Mr. Harris calls the pause practice. Step 1 is notice. Noticing is the beginning of awakening. If you cannot notice, you cannot choose. Step 2 is soften. Not a fake calm, but a physical softening. Unclench jaw. Drop shoulders. Exhale longer than inhale. The body sends signals to the mind. Step 3 is respond wisely. Wise response is not always gentle. Sometimes wise response is a boundary. But it is not a reflex. It is chosen. Ethan starts using the pause practice in small situations, so he can access it in big ones. When the coffee shop is slow, when the internet is lagging, when someone interrupts him. These are training ground. At first he fails constantly. He pauses too late. He reacts and then remembers. But even remembering after is progress, because it means awareness is growing. Then something changes. He begins to remember earlier. Before the words leave his mouth, before the email becomes sharp, before the sarcasm becomes a knife, he begins to feel proud, but not in an ego way, more like relief. He is not trapped. Now let us talk about compassion. Because emotional management without compassion becomes cold control, and cold control eventually cracks. Ethan realizes he has been trying to manage emotions by judging them. Anger is bad. Fear is weak. Sadness is embarrassing. He has been running an inner dictatorship, punishing feelings for existing. Mr. Harris tells him something that sounds strange. The more you reject an emotion, the more it clings. The more you accept it as a visitor, the faster it leaves. So Ethan practices a new language inside his mind. Instead of I should not feel this, he says, this is what I feel right now. Instead of I am angry, he says, anger is here. That small difference matters. It separates identity from experience. It creates space. He also begins to offer compassion to himself in moments of failure. When he snaps, he repairs. He apologizes. But he does not drown in shame. He says, I am learning. I will practice again. This is the 3rd lesson. Shame makes emotions worse. Compassion makes emotions workable. Over time, Ethan notices something else. Many of his strongest reactions are not about the present moment. They are echoes of the past. Old wounds, old humiliations, old fears. The present trigger lights up an old stored pain. So he starts asking a deeper question when emotions are big. Is this emotion about now? Or is it about then? Sometimes the answer is obvious. The anger is not about the dish left in the sink. It is about feeling unappreciated for years. The fear is not about this one mistake. It is about a childhood where mistakes were punished. When Ethan sees this, he begins to heal the root. Not just prune the leaves. He starts journaling, but not as endless complaining, He writes in a structured way. What happened? What I felt in my body. What story I told myself. What I needed. What I did. What I wish I did. What a compassionate, wise response would look like next time. He is training wisdom. Wisdom is learning from patterns without self-hatred. Now, there is another piece that most people ignore, but it matters. Lifestyle. If your body is exhausted, emotions become louder. If you are hungry, your patience shrinks. If you are overstimulated by constant content, your nervous system becomes reactive. Emotional management is not only mental, it is physical. So Ethan begins to sleep better. Not perfectly, but better. He reduces late-night doom scrolling. He walks outside more. He eats with more awareness. He drinks water. These sound basic, but they are foundation. He also learns to reduce emotional triggers by reducing unnecessary conflict. He stops picking fights online. He stops reading things that make him furious before bed. He starts choosing inputs that make him wiser. This is not avoidance. It is discipline. He is protecting the garden of his mind. Now the story takes another turn. Because the real test is not everyday annoyance. The real test is heartbreak, betrayal, loss, and uncertainty. That is where emotions become tsunami. Ethan experiences this test when his relationship ends. It is not dramatic, but it is painful. His partner says, "I care about you, but I cannot keep doing this. Your reactions scare me. I never know what mood I will meet." Ethan feels the words like a punch. After she leaves, he sits on the floor. The mind screams, "You ruined it. You are unlovable. You will be alone." He feels rage at her, then shame at himself, then despair, then numbness. This is the kind of moment where a person either grows or breaks. Ethan remembers Mr. Harris again. He does not want to numb out. He wants to face it. So he does something simple. He puts a hand on his chest, not for drama, but to connect with the body. He takes a breath. He says quietly, "Pain is here." He does not say, "I am pain." He says, "Pain is here." He lets himself cry, but he does not feed the story that life is over. He focuses on what is true. He lost something. He is hurt. He is human. He is still breathing. He stays with the wave. And slowly, after a long time, the wave begins to soften. Not because he fixed it, but because waves pass when you stop feeding them. The next day he writes an apology to his former partner. Not to manipulate her back, but to take responsibility. He says, "You were right. I did not manage my emotions well. I am learning now. I am sorry for the ways I hurt you." He sends it and expects nothing. That act does not erase the loss, but it changes Ethan. He feels dignity, not the old brittle pride, but the dignity of responsibility. That dignity is a form of peace. Now, I want to pause the story and speak directly to you, because you might relate to Ethan, even if your life looks different. Emotional management is not about becoming emotionless. It is about becoming wise with your emotional energy. Here are the inner truths Ethan learned, and they can change your life too. Your emotions are not commands. They are data. Your thoughts are not facts. They are suggestion. Your body is the first place emotion speaks. If you can feel the body, you can respond earlier. A single breath does not solve everything, but it creates a gap, and the gap is where freedom lies. If you want to make this practical right now, try this during your next emotional spike. Notice the sensation. Where is it in the body? Heat in chest, tight in throat, pressure in forehead. Name the emotion in simple language. Anger, fear, sadness, shame, jealousy. Name the need under it. Safety, respect, connection, control, rest. Then choose a response that serves the need without creating harm. Sometimes that response is speaking calmly. Sometimes it is taking a walk. Sometimes it is waiting before texting. Sometimes it is asking for clarification. Sometimes it is setting a boundary. Sometimes it is apologizing. Now, Ethan keeps practicing. Months pass. He does not become perfect, but he becomes different. He starts noticing that his anger often appears when he is afraid. He starts noticing that his anxiety often appears when he tries to control the future. He starts noticing that his sadness often appears when he loves deeply and feels powerless. Instead of hating these feelings, he respects them. He learns from them. One day, he visits Mr. Harris again and says, "I still get emotional, but I do not destroy things the way I used to." Mr. Harris nods and says, "That is the path. Emotions still arise, but you are no longer their prisoner." Then Mr. Harris adds one more teaching, and it lands deep. The goal is not to feel good all the time. The goal is to be free enough to do good even when you do not feel good. That sentence becomes Ethan's compass. Because there will be days when you feel anxious and still have to be kind. There will be days when you feel angry and still have to be fair. There will be days when you feel sad and still have to show up. That is maturity. That is practice. Now, the story ends with a small moment, not a big dramatic scene. Because real transformation is usually quiet. Ethan is in a grocery store line. Someone behind him is impatient. They sigh loudly. They mutter. The old Ethan would have taken it personally. Turned around, made a comment, started a conflict to protect pride. This time he feels the old spark. Hate, tightness, one breath. He notices the story starting. They are disrespecting me. He interrupts the story. He remembers that the person behind him might be stressed, scared, tired. He does not excuse rudeness, but he refuses to drink poison. He lets the moment pass. He walks out of the store with his peace intact. That is emotional mastery. Not winning every battle, but refusing to create unnecessary wars inside yourself. Now let me share something that often creates the biggest shift for people. Managing emotions is a long practice, and the practice needs patience. You will have setbacks. You will say the wrong thing sometimes. You will react sometimes. When that happens, do not turn it into a life sentence. Repair what you can. Learn what you can. Practice again. This is cause and effect. When you practice awareness, your awareness grows. When you practice patience, your patience grows. When you practice compassion, your compassion grows. These are not slogans. They are how the mind is trained. Your habits are not your identity. Your habits are your training history. And you can train a new history. As we close, I want to leave you with a reflection you can carry into your next hard moment. When emotion rises, you have two paths. You can tighten and react, or you can soften and respond. Tightening feels powerful for a second, but it usually creates regret. Softening feels vulnerable for a second, but it usually creates wisdom. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, try this. One breath, one name, one wise step. Thank you for being here with me. If you have a moment in your life where you struggled with emotions, or a technique that helped you respond more wisely, share it in the comments. Your story might help someone who feels trapped the way Ethan once did. And if you want more teachings that blend mindfulness, wisdom, and real-life practice so you can shape your destiny with clarity, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and keep coming back. I will see you in the next one.